All right, listen up. I need you to hear this because it could change everything for you. You are wasting too much energy on people who don't deserve it. You're stuck replaying conversations in your head, worrying about what they think, waiting for validation that will never come. And while you're caught up in all that noise, your life is quietly passing you by. Enough. It's time to focus on you. You already know it. You feel it. Every time you bend over backward for someone who wouldn't lift a finger for you. Every time you replay a conversation in your mind, wondering if you said the wrong thing. Every time you shrink yourself just to make someone else comfortable. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you put yourself first? When was the last time you made a decision that wasn't filtered through, what will they think? Or, will they still like me if I do this? Because somewhere along the way, you stopped living for yourself and started performing for everyone else. And that, right there, is the reason you feel so drained, so disconnected, so unsure of who you are. You've built your life around their expectations, and you call it loyalty, you call it being a good person. But let's be honest, what it really is self-betrayal. It's you putting your own peace on the line just to keep the peace with people who don't even notice what it costs you. You think that if you explain yourself one more time, if you do one more favor, if you prove your worth again, maybe they'll finally see you. But they won't, because they were never supposed to. Some people aren't meant to go where you're going. And deep down, you know that. You can feel it in your gut every time you leave a conversation feeling smaller than when you entered. Every time you silence your voice so theirs can be louder. Every time you ignore your intuition because you don't want to disappoint someone who would never hesitate to disappoint you. And here's the harsh truth. Not everyone wants you to win. Some people like you better when you're uncertain, when you're shrinking, when you're doubting yourself. It makes them comfortable because your growth threatens their stagnation. And here's the worst part. You let them win. The more you worry about their opinions, the less time you spend building your future. The more you seek their approval, the further you drift from your own goals. The more you try to fix, please, or convince, the more you lose yourself. And that's not your job. Your job is to grow, to rise, to evolve, to wake up every day and do the things that make you proud of you, not them. I know it's hard. I know letting go sounds terrifying. You think, but what if I need them? What if I regret it? What if I end up alone? But let me tell you something. Being alone is not the enemy. Being surrounded by the wrong people is. Being alone gives you the space to finally hear your own voice, to trust yourself again, to figure out what you actually want instead of what everyone else expects. And when you start doing that, and when you start listening to your own intuition instead of their noise, that's when you become unstoppable. Think about it. Every time you start to level up, the wrong people suddenly have a problem with it. You set a boundary and they say you've changed. You focus on your goals and they call you selfish. You stop tolerating their negativity and suddenly you're the bad guy. It's not a coincidence. People who benefit from your self-doubt will always resist your growth because it threatens the version of you they're comfortable with. But you can't keep living small just to keep them comfortable. Because while you're busy explaining yourself, waiting for their approval, justifying your boundaries, your life is on pause. And here's the truth. The moment you start focusing on yourself, some people will leave. Let them. Some will judge you. Ignore them. Some will try to make you feel guilty. Don't fall for it. Guilt is the chain that keeps you attached to people who drain you. Break it. Because the right people, the ones meant for your future, they won't need convincing. They'll support your growth without question. They'll celebrate your wins, not resent them. They'll respect your space, not guilt you for taking it. And those are the people you build your life with. But you'll never find them if you're still chasing validation from the wrong ones. So stop making yourself small for people who can't handle your light. Stop dimming your brilliance just to make someone else feel comfortable in their shadow. You don't need permission to evolve. You don't need validation to move on. And you definitely don't need to apologize for wanting more. You already know what needs to happen. You've known for a while. You know which relationships drain you. You know which habits hold you back. You know which boundaries you keep breaking, and the longer you ignore that truth, the louder your soul will scream for change. You are not meant to spend your life begging for acceptance. You are meant to build a life that feels like freedom, not a performance. So, starting now, I want you to make a decision. Not a big one, not a dramatic one. Just one small, honest decision to choose yourself. To stop chasing people who make you doubt your worth and start pouring that energy into yourself. Because the moment you redirect your focus from proving yourself to improving yourself, everything begins to shift. And listen, the people who truly belong in your life, they'll find you there. Standing strong, grounded, unapologetic, because when you finally stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop begging to be understood, you start aligning with people who just get you. And that's the peace you've been looking for. Not their approval, not their validation, but your own alignment with who you were always meant to be. So take a breath, look around, and ask yourself, who am I still shrinking for, and why? Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone your peace, your energy, or your time. You owe it to yourself to start living like your future depends on it, because it does. Listen to me. There comes a point when you have to stop begging for clarity from people who thrive on your confusion. You have to stop chasing answers from those who were never going to give you honesty in the first place. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from them. It comes from you finally deciding that you've had enough. You don't need another apology. You don't need them to understand. You don't need them to see your worth. You need to move forward, even if they never admit what they did. Here's the truth. The more you replay the past, the more power you give to it. Every what if and if only is a thief of the present. You think you're searching for meaning, but what you're really doing is reliving the same wound over and over again, hoping this time it will hurt less. It won't. It only gets heavier. Every time you turn your focus backward, you take energy away from the life you could be building. I know why you do it. You think that if you can just make sense of it, if you can explain it enough, justify it enough, or rewrite the story in your head, maybe you'll find peace. But peace doesn't come from rewriting the past. It comes from refusing to let it write your future. The truth is, some people will never give you the closure you deserve because keeping you confused keeps them in control. The moment you stop trying to understand them, you reclaim your power. You've spent too long waiting for people to change, waiting for someone to finally see how much you care, waiting for the right moment, the right sign, the right permission to start over. And while you wait, your life quietly slips through your fingers. Days turn into months, months turn into years, and before you know it, you're still stuck in the same cycle, replaying the same emotions, telling yourself, next time, I'll do it differently. But there is no next time, only right now. Growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. It's supposed to challenge you, to stretch you, to pull you away from what no longer serves you. That discomfort you feel right now, the one that keeps you up at night, the one that whispers, something needs to change. That's not a problem. That's your intuition, and it's trying to save you from a life that's smaller than what you deserve. When you start focusing on your own peace, don't be surprised when people start calling you selfish. When you start setting boundaries, don't be shocked if they accuse you of being cold. When you stop tolerating chaos, people who benefited from it will label you the villain. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk. You don't need to defend your growth to anyone. Because here's what happens when you finally choose yourself. Everything and everyone that isn't aligned with who you're becoming begins to fall away. It won't always be dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet, a text that goes unanswered, a conversation that never happens again, a friendship that fades without a fight. It hurts, yes, but it's necessary. That space they leave behind is not emptiness. It's room for what's meant for you. And I want you to understand this. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop pretending that someone else's potential is more important than your peace. You can love someone and still walk away from them. You can forgive them and still decide they no longer have access to you. Because healing is not about fixing the relationship. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of it. You've been taught to hold on, to fight for people, to be patient. But no one ever taught you that sometimes strength looks like walking away before you lose yourself completely. Sometimes it's silence. Sometimes it's closing the door quietly and never looking back. That doesn't make you heartless. It makes you wise. The truth is, you can't move forward if your hands are still full of what's behind you. You can't step into your next chapter if you keep rereading the last one. Life will not wait for you to be ready. It moves, whether you do or not. So the question is, will you keep circling the same pain, or will you finally decide that you've suffered enough? You have dreams that deserve your energy. You have goals that need your focus. You have a future that's been waiting for you to stop looking backward and start living forward. Every ounce of strength you've been using to survive them, to explain yourself, to hold it together, to make it work, I want you to take that same energy and use it to rebuild yourself. Because the truth is, you don't need their closure. You don't need their validation. You don't even need their understanding. What you need is to trust yourself again, to know that your heart can heal, that your peace is worth protecting, and that you can walk away without losing who you are. It's time to stop chasing explanations and start choosing peace, to stop proving your worth and start living it, to stop waiting for permission and start giving it to yourself. You don't owe anyone another conversation, another explanation, another chance. You owe yourself freedom, and it starts the moment you decide that you are done explaining your pain to people who caused it. Let them go. Let the story end. Let silence be your closure, and watch how your life begins to unfold the moment you finally make space for yourself. There's a moment, and maybe you're standing in it right now, when you realize that waiting has become your habit, waiting for motivation, waiting for clarity, waiting for the right timing, the right sign, the right feeling. You tell yourself you're being patient, that you're preparing, that soon it'll feel different, but it won't. Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You need to start. You've been convincing yourself that you're not ready, that you need to feel confident before you take action. But confidence doesn't come first. It's built after. You gain it by doing, not by thinking. You're not supposed to have it all figured out. You're supposed to begin while it still feels uncertain. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard started with fear, not certainty. They simply moved anyway. The problem isn't that you don't know what to do. You do. The problem is hesitation, that tiny pause between knowing and doing, where your brain whispers all the reasons you shouldn't. That pause is what's keeping you stuck, because your brain loves comfort. It's wired to protect you from anything unfamiliar, even if that comfort is quietly destroying you. It will always choose what's known over what's possible. And that's why you keep falling into the same patterns, the same routines, the same fears, the same excuses dressed up as logic. You say, I'll start tomorrow, but tomorrow becomes next week, next month, next year. You tell yourself you're waiting for inspiration, but what you're really waiting for is permission. Permission to believe you're capable. Permission to fail. Permission to start before you feel ready. Let me save you the time. No one is going to give you that. It's something you claim, not something you're handed. You are one decision away from a completely different life. One email, one phone call, one yes could change your entire direction. But hesitation is killing your potential, one quiet moment at a time. Every time you delay, you train your brain to doubt. Every time you overthink, you reinforce the habit of fear. Action breaks that cycle. Movement rewires the mind. You've probably heard of the 5-second rule. It's simple. When you feel that hesitation creeping in, when you catch yourself debating instead of acting, you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you move. No thinking, no debating, just action. Because the longer you wait, the louder your excuses become. I learned this when I was at my lowest. There was a time when even getting out of bed felt impossible. I kept hitting the snooze button, trapped in the loop of, I'll try again tomorrow. But one morning, I saw a rocket launch on TV, and something clicked. If a rocket can launch with that much force, why couldn't I launch myself out of bed? So the next morning, I counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I got up, just like that. It sounds ridiculous, but that small decision changed everything because I realized something. In 1 second, you can take back control. From that day, I started using it for everything. To stop procrastinating, to speak up when I was scared, to make the calls I'd been avoiding, to finally take action on the things I'd been thinking about for years. Every time I used it, I built proof. Proof that I could trust myself. Proof that I didn't need to wait for the right mood to take the right step. That's how confidence is created, not from comfort, but from courage repeated over and over again. You don't wake up confident, you build it through small moments of bravery. Every time you act despite fear, you teach your brain that it's safe to move forward. That's how habits of success are formed, not from motivation, but from micro moments of momentum. And once you start, everything changes. You stop waiting for opportunity and begin creating it. You stop fearing the unknown and start exploring it. Think about this. How many ideas have you lost to hesitation? How many chances have slipped by because you overthought them? How many times have you talked yourself out of something that could have changed your life? You've spent so long preparing for the moment when you'll feel ready, but readiness isn't an emotion, it's a decision. The people who change their lives aren't the ones who have more time, more money, or more confidence. They're the ones who stop negotiating with fear. They stop needing every detail to make sense before they move. They act, they fail, they learn, and then they act again. They understand that motion, not motivation, is what creates progress. So the next time your mind starts spinning with doubt, when you feel that pull between I should and maybe later, count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Send the message. Say yes. Walk into the room. Take the first step. Because the truth is, hesitation is the enemy of growth, and action is the cure. You've already waited long enough. You've already proven you can survive the hard parts. Now it's time to prove that you can thrive, because the life you want isn't waiting somewhere in the future. It's waiting for you to begin. And if you can find the courage to move once, even for 5 seconds, you'll discover that everything you've been waiting for was never ahead of you. It was always inside you. Let's talk about something that no one really prepares you for: the loneliness that comes with growth. Everyone tells you to chase your dreams, to set boundaries, to evolve into the best version of yourself. But they never mention that the higher you climb, the quieter it gets. Growth is not just about achievement, it's about loss. The loss of comfort, of certainty, of the people who only loved you when you played small. At first, you'll question yourself. You'll wonder if you're being too cold, too distant, too selfish for putting yourself first. You'll look back at the people you've outgrown and feel a strange mix of guilt and relief. Because for so long, your identity was tied to how others saw you. You were the one who always said yes, who always showed up, who kept everything together even when it was breaking you. But now you're learning to choose peace over pleasing, clarity over chaos, and that shift will confuse people who benefited from your old habits. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. But what they won't understand is that you were supposed to. Change isn't betrayal, it's survival. It's what happens when you finally decide that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on things that no longer serve you. You can't spend your whole life apologizing for becoming the person you were always meant to be. Here's the truth. Growth demands isolation. Not forever, but for a while. You need that solitude to recalibrate, to hear your own thoughts again. When you start walking a new path, the noise of the world can't come with you. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's sacred too, because in that silence, you start remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. You start seeing how much of your life was built around keeping others comfortable while you stayed stuck. You'll notice that not everyone claps when you start winning. Some people will pull away, not because you did anything wrong, but because your growth shines a light on their stagnation. You remind them of what they're not doing. You become a mirror they don't want to look into, and you can't shrink yourself just to keep their reflection comfortable. Let them distance themselves if they need to. Your responsibility is not to stay small for anyone's comfort. But here's the paradox. Loneliness during growth isn't punishment, it's preparation. The space that feels so empty right now is where the right people will eventually show up. The ones who see your strength and don't feel threatened by it. The ones who want to grow with you, not pull you back to where you used to be. Those people are real, but you can only meet them when you stop clinging to the ones who are meant to fade. You have to let the old version of you die a little. The version that needed constant approval, that over-explained everything, that mistook people-pleasing for love. You'll grieve it, because even toxic comfort is still comfort. But on the other side of that grief is power. The kind of power that comes from no longer needing anyone to validate your choices. You'll start to realize that peace isn't loud. It's not fireworks or applause. It's waking up one day and noticing that your mind is quiet, that you're no longer replaying old conversations, that your energy isn't being pulled in 10 different directions. It's that stillness that lets you finally see your own potential clearly, without the fog of other people's expectations. And let me tell you something. Once you taste that kind of peace, you stop settling for anything less. You stop answering calls that drain you. You stop saying yes out of guilt. You stop explaining decisions that only need your understanding. That's when you know you've crossed over from growth as an idea to growth as a lifestyle. People will misinterpret this stage. They'll call it arrogance. They'll say you've changed too much. But what they don't realize is that it takes an immense amount of humility to choose yourself after years of abandoning your own needs. It takes courage to be misunderstood, to be judged, to be seen as different, and still stay true to your path. So if you're in that quiet, lonely space right now, the space where everything feels uncertain and everyone seems distant, don't run from it. Sit with it. It's not emptiness, it's creation. You're building the foundation of the life you've been asking for. The stillness you feel is not a void, it's space. Space for new opportunities. Space for new love. Space for you to finally breathe. This is the season where you learn to rely on your own voice, where you learn that solitude doesn't mean isolation, it means sovereignty. Because once you can stand alone, you become untouchable. The opinions, the judgments, the noise, they stop mattering when you realize your validation doesn't live outside of you anymore. So if you're walking through that season, don't see it as a loss. See it as evolution. You're not falling apart. You're shedding layers that were never truly you. You're not losing people. You're losing versions of yourself that kept you from growing. You're not behind. You're exactly where you need to be, learning the hardest and most important lesson of all, that peace is the price and the prize of growth. Keep walking. Keep trusting the silence. Because one day you'll look back and realize that this lonely, confusing, uncomfortable stage was the bridge, the moment when your life began to shift from survival to purpose. And when that happens, you'll understand why it had to get quiet before it could get better. There's something powerful that happens the moment you stop running from yourself. When you finally sit still long enough to see what's really going on inside, the fear, the doubt, the guilt, the weight of all the things you've been pretending not to feel. Growth isn't just about setting goals and chasing dreams. It's about confronting the parts of you you've been avoiding for years. The truth is, you can't change your life if you keep hiding from your truth. Most people spend their lives trying to fix the surface. They change jobs, they change partners, they change cities, but they never stop long enough to face the real issue, their mindset. Because if your thoughts stay the same, your life will too. You can't build a new future with the same beliefs that created your past. You can't step into your potential while clinging to the stories that keep you small. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll never get it right," or "I'm just not that kind of person"? Every one of those sentences is a seed. The more you repeat them, the deeper they root. And one day, without even realizing it, your life starts to reflect those beliefs. You find yourself living in the shadow of your own words. But here's the truth. Your mind is not your enemy. It's a tool. It listens to what you feed it. Every thought, every phrase, every quiet whisper of self-doubt becomes a command your brain obeys. If you keep telling yourself that you're stuck, it will make sure you stay there. If you keep saying you're not good enough, your brain will filter the world to prove you right. It's not personal, it's neurological. The mind believes repetition over reason. And this is where everything can change, because the same brain that kept you stuck can set you free. You don't have to fight against your thoughts. You just have to retrain them. You can start right now. When that voice of doubt shows up, and it will, you don't argue with it. You interrupt it. You say, no, that's not true anymore. I'm learning, I'm improving, I'm capable. You replace the criticism with evidence of your progress. Because your brain can't hold two conflicting thoughts at once, whichever you repeat more becomes your reality. This isn't about pretending everything is fine or faking positivity. It's about discipline. Training your mind to focus on what moves you forward, not what drags you down. That's what separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. Not talent, not luck, but mental discipline. You see, life will test you constantly. It will throw uncertainty, rejection, and failure your way. But the outcome isn't decided by the challenge, it's decided by your interpretation of it. The same setback that breaks one person can build another, depending on the story they tell themselves about what it means. You can see a failure as proof that you're not enough, or you can see it as feedback that helps you improve. The event doesn't define you. The meaning you assign to it does. Every successful person you admire has mastered this mindset. They don't escape fear or self-doubt. They just don't let it dictate their choices. They feel it, they acknowledge it, and they move anyway. Because confidence doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you've learned how to act despite it. And maybe that's what you need to hear today. You don't have to feel ready to start. You don't have to feel brave to take action. You don't need permission to begin again. You just have to be willing to do it scared. To move forward even when your voice shakes. To trust that clarity will meet you on the path, not before it. There's a version of you waiting on the other side of that hesitation. Stronger, calmer, more certain of who you are. But you won't meet that version if you keep waiting for the fear to disappear. You meet it by walking through the fear, by choosing progress over perfection, by showing up for yourself even on the days when motivation is nowhere to be found. Because real growth isn't a loud transformation. It's quiet. It's you catching a negative thought before it spirals. It's you keeping a promise to yourself after breaking so many. It's you saying, I'm proud of myself, when no one else is around to say it. These moments don't look dramatic, but they're what build the foundation of lasting change. And here's something important. When you start thinking differently, your world begins to shift in ways that seem almost magical. The right people appear. Opportunities start to show up. You notice possibilities that were always there, but hidden behind the fog of doubt. It's not magic, it's focus. When your mind changes, your perception expands, and what used to seem impossible becomes inevitable. So, the next time your inner critic speaks up, pause and remember this. That voice is not the truth. It's an echo, a reflection of past experiences, not your present reality. You don't have to believe every thought you think. You are the one choosing which thoughts deserve your energy. Start paying attention to your inner language. Stop saying, I can't. Replace it with, I'm learning. Stop saying, it's too late. Replace it with, I'm just getting started. Stop saying, I'm not ready. Replace it with, I'm becoming ready. Every time you shift your language, you shift your future. This is the real work. Not waiting for the world to change, but changing the way you see yourself inside it. Not controlling every outcome, but mastering your response to what comes. That's where your power is, because the truth is, your life will rise or fall to the level of your thoughts. So if you want to transform your life, start with the conversation happening in your own mind, train it, guard it. Speak to yourself like someone you're responsible for protecting, because you are. And once you do that, once you learn to turn your mind from your biggest critic into your greatest ally, there will be no limit to what you can build, no ceiling to what you can become. There comes a point when you realize that discipline, not motivation, is what separates those who change their lives from those who only talk about it. Motivation is a spark. It's exciting, emotional, it feels powerful, but it fades. It always fades. Discipline is what's left when the excitement is gone, when no one's watching, when your mind is screaming for comfort, and you choose to move anyway. That's where transformation happens, in the quiet moments when you do what you said you'd do, even when you don't feel like it. You see, motivation is unreliable because it depends on emotion, and emotion changes constantly. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world, and other days you can barely get out of bed. If you depend on motivation, you'll be consistent only when life is easy. But if you build discipline, you'll keep moving, even when it's hard. And that's the difference between temporary progress and lasting change. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's repetitive, boring, and sometimes uncomfortable. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's saying no when no one else will know the difference. It's choosing to stay focused when distractions whisper your name. Discipline doesn't reward you immediately. It pays you later in freedom, in confidence, in results that speak for themselves. Most people quit not because they can't succeed, but because they expect it to feel easier than it does. They confuse discomfort with failure. But growth and discomfort are inseparable. Every time you push past resistance, you're training your mind to operate beyond the limits of emotion. That's why people who rely on discipline outperform the ones who rely on feelings. They've learned that feelings lie, but habits don't. Think about the last time you made a promise to yourself and didn't keep it. Maybe it was something small, a workout, a call, a goal you said you'd start. It doesn't seem like a big deal at first, but every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken trust in your own word. And the opposite is also true. Every time you follow through, even in the smallest way, you reinforce the belief that you can count on yourself. That's the foundation of confidence, not perfection, but consistency. Confidence isn't built from success, it's built from self-respect. It's the quiet pride that comes from knowing you did what needed to be done, even when no one noticed. When you trust yourself to show up, you stop relying on willpower because action becomes automatic. The key isn't to do more, it's to show up every day and do what matters most, especially when it's inconvenient. And let's be honest, your brain will fight you. It will whisper excuses that sound reasonable. You deserve a break. You'll start tomorrow. You've done enough. But the truth is, your mind is designed to protect you, not push you. It values safety, not success. It will always choose comfort over growth unless you train it otherwise. Discipline is that training. It's the decision to act based on commitment, not convenience. The secret to building discipline is simple, but not easy. Remove negotiation. You decide once. You commit once. When you make a promise to yourself, you don't reopen the conversation every morning. You don't ask, "Do I feel like it today?" You just do it. Every time you remove negotiation, you strengthen identity. You stop being someone who tries to change and become someone who is consistent. And here's the beautiful thing, a discipline compounds. One small act of consistency builds momentum, and momentum builds confidence. When you start honoring your word, your self-image shifts. You stop identifying as someone who procrastinates and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That identity shift is what sustains long-term transformation. The people you admire aren't superhuman. They've simply learned how to win the battle in their mind faster than you have. They feel the same resistance, the same doubt, the same exhaustion, but they don't let it decide for them. They act even when it's messy. They move even when it's uncertain. They've built a relationship with discomfort strong enough to outlast the excuses. And here's the truth no one wants to hear. Success is mostly repetition. The same actions done consistently until they become second nature. The same small habits done without fanfare until they create massive results. There's no shortcut. There's no hack. Just daily choices that no one else sees. The early mornings, the quiet focus, the moments you say no when it would be easier to say yes. You don't need to be extraordinary to build discipline. You just need to stop negotiating with your limitations. You need to understand that your goals don't care about your mood. They care about your consistency. You don't rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. So, start small. Pick one promise and keep it. Wake up when you said you would. Finish what you start. Follow through on the things that matter. Every time you do, you're not just completing a task, you're casting a vote for the kind of person you want to become. And one day, you'll look around and realize that the discipline you built quietly has become the freedom everyone else is chasing. Because that's the real reward. Freedom. Freedom from self-doubt. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from the exhausting cycle of starting and stopping. Discipline doesn't limit you. It liberates you. It gives you control over your life, your time, your energy. And once you have that, you stop waiting for the right moment because you know the truth. You are the right moment. So don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't wait for the feeling to be right. Build the habit. Build the muscle. Build the life that discipline makes possible. Because the day you stop needing motivation is the day you finally take control of your future.